What's going on, everyone? Chris here with Clutter Reduction, Junk Removal, and all of those clips you just saw was part of a 3-bedroom clean out that we did yesterday and today. In total, it was 4 loads, no bagging fees. It was all just bigger stuff except for the end. The last load was a bunch of bags that were already pre-done. Altogether, we were able to get each load done in less than 45 minutes each. And the highest dump fee per load was $49.28, which was today. Otherwise, they were all between $25 and $35. This one I'm going to have to dump when I get back from out of town next week. And I had my helper with me for each load, and that was pretty much my only expenses. So overall, it turned out to be a pretty good job profit margin wise, which is good because that means that October is already looking to be a good month for me. The situation behind that job was it's a woman whose father passed away, and a little while ago, actually. She's been working on cleaning up this house for months, and she's been taking it upon herself to load up a bunch of bags of all these small miscellaneous stuff in the closets, the kitchen, the cabinets, stuff on the floor, stuff inside of dressers and drawers and desks, everything. And she's been throwing away like 5 to 10 bags at a time to her local dumpster for months. And she said that she saw a post of mine on Nextdoor, and she had saw that a local realtor had commented on the post speaking about how well of a job we did. And she said, well, everyone has an opinion, but I'll take a realtor's. So she ended up giving me a call. We went out yesterday and gave a quote, and it was a situation where she was trying to make like baby steps to get this done. It was overwhelming for her. It was stressful for her. She didn't want to just do everything at once. So I said, look, completely understood. We can do little by little if it works for you. What I would recommend, though, is given how much stuff it was, like you saw at the beginning, let us take all of the big, bulky furniture that you know is trash. Donation's not going to take it. So all the fabric couches, the sleeper sofas, the mattresses, the box springs, a lot of those sofa chairs in the beginning were very stained. They were not in good condition. They probably smelled of the dogs and other stuff. So our first load on the first day was getting rid of all that stuff. And then we came back this morning to do a second load. And she said overnight, she said, you know what? Screw it. Let's pull the plug. Let's get it all out. So our second load was basically all the bedroom stuff, like the dressers and the cabinets, and then like those office decks. And then the third load was a bunch of miscellaneous stuff throughout the house. And then the last load was some stuff in the garage and all the bags and trash and stuff, because I was like, look, you have us taking all the big stuff. Look at how much got done in one day, 24 hours. Like, your house is basically empty except for the garage. I already have to come back for a fourth load. Why don't we take all of the trash bags you already have made sitting out in the living room on the ground, and then you don't have to worry about making these trips back and forth. It's a little bit of money up front, but it's probably going to save you weeks of stress. And she said that was a good idea, and that's what we did. So all in all, 4 truckloads, and overall pretty good numbers. So right now we're going to go through the trailer because there is a bunch of bags back there of all the stuff she's been cleaning out, and we noticed a few things when we were loading it, and my curious self, my little spidey senses were tingling the whole time. So I'm going to go look through some of that stuff. I kind of have to. And some of it we may set aside and box up and maybe try to donate to Goodwill or something. And then some of it we'll see if we can maybe sell in our next garage sale. So that's going to do it here. I will throw up a clip of anything exciting that we may have found. I did find 2 of the commercial bins that I was actually trying to buy like a month ago that the guy ended up never messaged me back about when I was sitting there waiting for him. But we found 2 of them at the dump. One of them's a little beat up, but we can fix it. Both of them are missing the wheels and the axles, so I figured I'll just drill in some holes, put a bracket on, and then attach like a dolly or an axle or some kind of wheels to it. And I mean, at the end of the day, those are $400 bins each, and I got two of them. So even if I can't make it, official to bring on jobs because they are pretty big, I can at least use them for scrap metal here because that was my original game plan as well. All right, so something I wanted to touch base on is how I like to deal with stressed out clients. And I mentioned this kind of briefly when I was talking about how I wanted to handle that client's job today. I have learned from the moving company, moving especially, moving is stressful for most people. It gets ranked in the top 5 most stressful situations, right behind divorce and death of a family member. So that's how you can tell it's pretty stressful for some people. To pack up your whole life and to move it along the cost factor is a lot for a lot of people. So I have learned about dealing with stressed out people, especially one-on-one, usually in a time-sensitive situation. And junk removal is typically a little less stressful overall, but when you're dealing with death of a family member or an eviction, obviously nobody wants to see all their stuff go to trash. Not a mention like you're paying to see it go to trash. So what I like to do personally, whenever I have somebody who is stressed out, I try to put their emotions first. Now, some of you may not agree with this because when you start putting emotions first, you start compromising and you start, saying, oh, I'll help you out financially, or I'll do this, I'll do that. I don't normally do this, but I'll take care of you this time. I think you can put emotions first without having to do all those other things. Of course, you may want to help out somebody in a situation, and I've done it before. I've felt bad for somebody and did a job relatively cheaper than normal, or handled something I normally wouldn't handle. And sometimes it kind of pays off, and sometimes you kind of get screwed over. You can't always gauge those things. I don't think it's worth it to just go like cold-hearted with everybody because of a couple of bad eggs. So what I like to do when I'm handling people who are super stressed out is to go with their pace. So if somebody is overwhelmed and they're tackling something little by little, don't just come in guns blazing saying, oh, you're doing this little by little? How about we do this all right now? It's going to pressure people. It's going to stress people out. I don't know about you guys, but I personally, like when we have people come to the house to give us service quotes and they say, oh, I think it's going to be $4,000 to do a screened-in porch. But if you do it right now, I'll give you $3,000 for it. And this is how we can do this. And like, that's cool and all. But if I'm not prepared to make that decision right on the spot, I'm just going to feel stressed out and I'm not going to want to do it just because. So it's going to force me to want to say, I want to back off. Meanwhile, if they were to say, it's going to be about $4,000. If you want to go right now, we can do it for $3,000. If not, and you want to think about it a little bit, that's fine. We'll give you a 30-day window to choose. And this is how we can do payment processes. So it's not just boom in your face, you owe us $3,000. I can't just afford that right off the spot. So I just find it to go with somebody else's pace. If they're on a budget and this is a stressful situation, say, look, I understand their budget. This is still a business though. I need to make money to pay for other things. What if we handle the big stuff that you can't otherwise do? And we'll just go little by little so you can kind of spread out your payments if you need to. If you can't just throw down a couple of $1,000s of junk removal in one big load, then, let's go ahead and do a $500 load this week. And then next week we'll go in and grab another $500 load. And then we'll do it again and then again. And that way you're not getting hit with these big payments all at once. Otherwise, just little by little. Plus, that gives them time to try to have donation come and maybe pick up a couple of items here or there. Save a little bit of money. So that's what I personally like to shoot for. If somebody is, and you can usually tell if they're stressed out on the spot, especially if it's like their parents that passed away or a family member, or it's something that is personal to them. At the end of the day, yes, we do junk removal, but not everybody sees their stuff as junk. Even the people that do see it as junk. Sometimes like they tell me like, yeah, this is just a bunch of junk. I'm glad you guys are getting rid of it. And then as I'm loading it up, they say, so what are you going to do with this stuff? Like some of it can be used. And like, you just said that was junk. But like I tell people like, look, if I think it could get donated, I'll donate it. Otherwise, it's out. And that's the truth. So I find that it's just putting yourself on their level, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter what your point of view is on junk removal, if it's trash, if it's donation, if it's functional, if it's usable. Everybody has a different opinion. I find it just ideal to put yourself on their level, but then try to be the confident and calm, collected one. You don't both want to be stressed out. If you go to somebody's house and it's like a 6 load job and there's a whole bunch of stuff, and like they're like, well, I kind of want to do this, but then I don't want to do that. I get it. It can be very annoying sometimes when you're trying to just get a job done, especially if you're busy and you have other jobs. But I think getting kind of frustrated with them is probably one of the worst things you can do. Yeah, at the end of the day, the job might get done, but think about what you're doing to the client on the spot. Like that amount of pressure, like you don't want them to feel guilty afterwards that they use junk removal, especially if they use your service. Like you want people to feel good when you're done with the job because you want that positive experience. Now, obviously, it's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you can do a great job and you can do it, very financially stable and they're all happy about it. But they're still, like at the end of the day, they're still upset they had to use junk removal. That's one thing. But you don't want them to feel like, it's great that they came in and did all that, but I wish they weren't so pushy about getting rid of everything. I feel like at that point you're kind of breaking boundaries a little. But that's just me. I'm a little bit more, I guess, caring in a way where like I don't want that person to feel too pressured. Like I'll give them suggestions from a functional standpoint, and then I'll give them suggestions from an emotional standpoint the best I can because I'm not the most empathetic. But that's what I just have found to be helpful with people over time. So let me know if you do something similar or how you like to handle those situations and what are some of the suggestions you give people when they're, let's say you're going to the client I had. She had a 3-bedroom house. Her family passed away quite a while ago. She's been tackling all the small stuff little by little. Had pretty much everything bagged up, ready to go, but she was going to handle it herself, otherwise to not have to pay for volume. But we went in and got rid of all the big stuff. And then towards the end, I was like, look, you could save the time by getting all the low stuff with us because we're here anyways. A couple $100 versus weeks of your time and stress. How would you handle her situation? Would you recommend the same thing I did where, let's say, let's get all the big stuff little by little, or we can do it all at once? And would you say that, just let us grab everything right on the spot and kind of force her into trying to do it the same day? Let me know what you would have done. But that is it for me. We are going to head off and do our next little thing. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.